Hello. Hey, if you're watching the recording, or if you're watching this camera, you are watching the behind the scenes. Yeah, this is the pre-show, so I don't know if anybody's watching. I got comments right here. See, no comments coming in just yet. I can make this a little brighter, I guess. Come on, come on, come on. Ah, there we go, a little brighter. Comments. There we go. All right, so I got my pre-show going over here. Pre-show, pre-show, or behind the scenes over there. All right. There we go. Let me drain this down a little bit. We're going to have a little different show today. I'm going to take that out of my ear, and it's a little noisier today. Let me go into here. I'm going to adjust my settings for a moment. If you wanted to, open up a second browser window right over here. Oh, my captions, get rid of that. Thank you. And you can see the behind the scenes live stream on the AIBA Tech Thoughts channel on YouTube. Yes, I have multiple channels. And that is a side camera right over here. And Pocket Video School says, I'm here too. But you can see like the mess that is in front of me. 1, 2, 3 computers, 1, 2, 3, 4 streaming devices, but one of them's not on, and numerous cameras. And we have a lot to talk about today. And as always, I love to know where everyone is watching from, because this is a worldwide show. This is the magic of the internet, and this is why we're doing this, is because we have the ability through live streaming to be able to send a signal anywhere else in the world. So I may be here in Texas, but we have viewers in Pico Riviera, California, the McGee Academy of Science, Arts and Sciences broadcasts. And if you haven't seen, he was actually interviewed. I apologize for forgetting your name right now. I'm drawing a blank. But he is interviewed in our Conversations series on the YouTube channel. So you can go check that out. And he talked about how he teaches broadcast to middle school. Yes, it's now part of what you teach in school, just like writing, arithmetic, and everything else. It's not writing or arithmetic, it's streaming. And we also have Keith Crawford in Kenai, Alaska. Thank you for tuning in. We have Eric Jan van den Bogard from Haarlem, Netherlands. I probably said that wrong. I apologize. And we have Pocket Video School in Northumberland, the United Kingdom. And we have Nicholas Hofston in Sweden. And audio is a bit low today, yes. Well, it's loud in here, so let me go into my mixer over here. Oh no! It says it's pounded into the red. I just don't want to. I don't want to make it distort, but it will be noisier than normal, and that is because I'm actually going to turn the noise gate off. I'm going to try to turn the noise gate off. There isn't like a simple button on this, so it's going to be a lot of fan noise today because I have added a big fat gaming laptop, and that's because we're going to talk about Hive. And once again, that is, let me clear my browser here. And oh nope, yeah, that's Stream Technology. Go back to browsers. Go away. I got way too many things going on today, and that is because today, nope, not that one. They're out of order. Me over. 2 and 3. Where's me over? Me over. PTZ Optics Hive is going to be our discussion today, and Hive enables remote people to control your cameras, or you as an operator can join other studios and operate their cameras without having to travel. It's the magic of the internet. Just like we can use the magic of the internet to broadcast, we can use the magic of the internet in the production as well. And that's what we're going to talk about today. I touched on it briefly last week when we were talking about the PTZ Optics camera. Today is mostly not really about the camera, but about the studio. It's about Hive. And as I found out yesterday when I was doing my setup, Hive is no slouch in the production capability because it's dealing with lots of streams of video, potentially lots of streams, and control and showing each of these things. And you can't run it on a really lightweight machine. And John, you could nod. John's with us today from PTZ Optics. He's nodding. Okay. So I have a couple Microsoft Surfaces I use here. If you're looking at behind the scenes, this right here is a Microsoft Surface, and this is what I'm using for my Restream connection and the comments and everything. And I tried to use another Surface Go, and it was just trying to like call up menus and bring things up. It is, yeah, that wasn't working. So I said, okay, okay. I bring out I have an HP Omen with i7 10th gen and a GTX 2000 series, and that runs it just fine. So yes, you do need a bit of horsepower because you are still doing video production with Hive. So Hive, even though it's remote, is still dealing with video coming in and control going out. There's a whole lot going on, so you're going to need a decent machine to run it. And you may not need the level of machine. Like I'm actually just using the browser. I downloaded the app. I didn't get around to installing the app on my Windows machine like I did on the Mac. But once Jason says, I've got audio but no video. Is it just me? Should have video. And should have video on the behind the scenes, which is on the AIBA Tech Thoughts channel on YouTube if you want to see the setup of what we got going on today. Oh, I'm sorry. He corrects me. Elementary school, 4th and 5th graders. So that is who they are teaching there. The basically television production. And, so when you got somebody running cameras, you got somebody running audio mixer, you got somebody switching videos, you got somebody doing titles, you got somebody doing, in front of the camera doing the weatherman type of thing. All those different roles are being taught in elementary school now. So that is really, really cool. Continuing down the list, Fred Zare from Stratford, Ontario. Thank you very much for joining us. Saul from Joliet TV is saying hello from Chicago. Audio visual integration and design is jumping in from Spokane, Washington. And I thank you all for being here. But let's kind of get right to this. If you are on YouTube or LinkedIn or Facebook or Twitch, you can comment directly in there. It'll come up, and those comments will be brought in as part of the show, and both John and I can respond to them. If you're on Instagram, which I am actually on Instagram too, and we do have viewers on Instagram. So we are on Instagram, and as I mentioned, if you wanted to kind of see behind the scenes of what this kind of looks like, you can see it. You can jump to open a second window on the AIBA Tech Thoughts channel on YouTube, and you've got a camera over here. I keep pointing to it like it's the only camera, but it's one here too. I have that camera, and that is streaming with another device, and I can actually see comments from that too. So, and that is going to Facebook and YouTube and Twitch. So I'm streaming a lot. We had a couple more people join us. I hear there's a big dealer in the house. He's saying hello. YouTube throws commercials in your live stream. Oh, that's very interesting. I thought that they might do it just when someone first launches, but if they do it midstream, that would be interesting. They could pause the live stream, but that, I don't know, I think that would be a logistical nightmare to try and do that. It would also push everybody else further and further behind in terms of responding. So interesting. Big dealer in the house says hello from Buenos Aires. So thank you very much. Yeah, first time I've seen an ad on live stream on YouTube. Interesting. So we shall carry on, and hopefully if they're putting ads in live streams now, it doesn't push everybody too far behind. So again, anywhere throughout this show, throw your comments in. We can bring those part of the show. And today is going to be all about, let me jump the screen over here. Boom, 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 boom. PTZ Optics has this, I have my other remote. Let me just walk away. Let's see. I can click. There we go, side by side. I got my little numeric keypad. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4 keypads to deal with. All right, so PTZ Optics Hive is what we talked about last week. We just talked about it. Didn't demo it, And today is all about showing you what exactly this is. So I have that right here. And also, I left a little bit of space on the left here just for this. And you can see, if I move this over a little bit, scoot that over. My CPU, which is an i7 10th gen, is at 55%. So 55% on a 10th gen is pretty good. And I'm just controlling my one camera, but thankfully the team at PTZ Optics for today's show has given me the ability that I believe, unless I closed it up, I can jump into their studio. Is that really the case? And you know what? Let me put my other earbuds in, the black ones, not the white ones, and then there he is. And I will bring him into the show here. There we go. All right. Hello, hello. I'm doing all right. And again, John Roberts from PTZ Optics, thank you very much for being part of today's show. And he knows more about Hive than I'm going to know in the short time I've had to get acclimated to it. But I think this is really exciting for people who don't have big production crews and have the opportunity to leverage outside people into being crews. So, like what you see right here on this screen is his studio, their studio space in Pennsylvania. And from that, I'm able to take his camera, his Move 4K 12x, and right now it's pointed at the table, but I can sit there and I guess point it at the clock. So you can have people who are not in your studio who just connected through Hive click in and say, oh, you know what? Let's point that back at the table. There we go. Oh, that's a wider shot than that. There we go. We got a closer type. Yeah, there we go. So there we've got a closer shot there, and remote operators can be your camera operator and control 1, 2, 3, 4 cameras in your studio. And then if you saw right up here in the top left, that's their studio that they gave me access to. And right before the show, I gave him access to my studio, which is here. So I'm going to switch back to my studio. And then I'm not going to drive. And he's able to control the cameras and move them around in my, well, camera. I only have the one. Oh, you're driving manually. Very interesting. Now, here's a question I have just right out of the box. There is a control interface in the bottom right-hand side of this, but is it possible to actually hook a PTZ controller into this? Okay, and I think that's really going to kind of be essential because, you know, if it's just clicking between presets, these presets over here, I apparently flipped it in another show. Clicking between these presets is easy, but if somebody wanted to like manually follow a presenter walking around on the stage, they can do it manually. But like you said, these cameras also have the ability to auto track. Now, let me You said something there that let me clarify that. You're saying that even if a camera didn't have auto tracking built in, Hive is going to enable auto tracking in a camera that previously was, shall I say, a dumb camera? Oh, let me turn that on then. Here it is. Pan tolerance, tilt tolerance, acceleration. Oh, left, center, or right. Okay. The one thing I find with auto tracking that seems to be a challenge with certain things, I've had it with both the bird dog and the little obspot, is the height of a person's face in in the frame. It always seems like, let me put the face in the middle. I'm like, no show do you see somebody's face in the middle. Yet somehow the software is like, let's put that face in the middle. That is really cool. Now I'm looking. I pointed it down at the PTZ optics controller here. So you said somebody like if they needed to, you could control like could you control my camera with the hardware? Okay. So when I started to dive into Hive, it's a beta right now. It's an open beta. People can go to the website, the PTZ Optics website, sign up, try it out, and as a beta, it's free for them to start messing around with it and things like that. In terms of what the costs will be, what do you foresee those costs being? I do. Who can scroll faster? Dun, 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 dun. Right. Well, let me clarify these prices just a little bit here because when I go over here to click on, oh, I'm using the mouse as opposed to the trackpad. That's what happens when you have too many computers. So I have Frisco Studios. Frisco Studios is my company. This is actually my studio here. If I had two studios, is that two subscriptions? Or can I have two studios under Frisco Studios account? Because it says add a new studio right there. Right. Okay. Yeah, so to make sure I hear it right, because this is a beta and it's an open beta, right here, right over here, it's I have the little plus icon to add another studio. If you have a studio account, a professional studio account over there, a standard studio, a free studio, you have that one studio account, and then if you wanted to add a second studio, that's a second license, is what you're saying. So if you were a church and you had two different areas going, or you had like a conference center that was doing one thing, and you had the sanctuary that was doing a service, and you wanted to have two different, people remoting in and taking care of both of those things, and you're the person on site, you're just taking care of like hitting the stream button and letting those people produce the show, then you're basically saying that's two studios, two licenses, and that will enable people to be in two separate studios under that account, and each one only sees those cameras in that one studio. Right. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I'm just trying to understand, like, because right, right. Now, if someone is a remote producer, let's just say I, as a freelancer, want to be able to operate your cameras when you guys do a live show. I don't need to pay for a license though, right? I just create an account with a free studio. Right. Eric uh, asked a question. You can't import your second studio yourself. Yes, and I think that's an important distinction. That I remember when I was part of one of the months ago a Hive discussion online. It was creating the roles because I'm the owner of my studio, so I have the ability to do everything. And then initially there weren't as many levels, so when you invited somebody into your studio, they could be like, you know what, I'm just going to delete this camera. I'm going to like do, and it was like, whoa, 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 we need to have like an operator level where you can operate the cameras, but you're not going to be messing around with my account. So as you can see right here, there's a viewer, so somebody can come in and view what's going on in the studio, which I think is actually really useful because if you want to have a stakeholder, but you don't want them to touch the buttons, which I have like on every live stream walking behind me. Well, what about this? What about that? Don't touch. Just don't touch. And then you have the producer. So when I first added you, it defaulted to viewer, and then I had to manually change you to producer, and then I can actually make you an admin. And then of course there's this cool feature down here. It says add expiration. So I can say, okay, I'm going to hire this guy for this weekend. Who can, he can remote into our church or our corporation or whatever, and he can operate our cameras for these events this weekend. And then after that, it automatically just terminates that account. How does that work? Oh, interesting. Well, that begs the question, like you're talking about a music concert. Where is the audio? Because it says audio mixing. I don't see like um, audio meters or what's going on. So, and when you say a full robust mixer, do you mean the design of what we're seeing? I'll get it right. Over here is going to evolve dramatically, or is the switching aspect going to be separate from the camera operation? Or is it going to be modular, like Resolve? I want the camera interface. Oh, I want the switching interface. There's going to be different interfaces. Now, and over here on the right, you've got all these image controls. When you were talking about locking people out, Would you say that, you know, is it limited to a specific camera or specific features? Because I could see, don't mess with the camera settings, don't go jacking up the iris and everything. But I do want you to like cut between this podium and that podium and stage, and I want you to do that. But just don't be like, oh, I think it should be brighter. I think it should be, I think it looks a little blue. Don't go messing around with that. Right. That brings up a little nuance, I think, in that you can have multiple operators, producers. Would you call them producers? You can have multiple producers doing different things to the same camera. So one person can be like, okay, let me, like one person is doing hunting and pecking for a panel event. And while this person is doing that, if it was like a sports truck, you have a separate person, a shader, who is sitting there saying, well, the light is brighter on the right side of the stage than it is on the left side of the stage because they set the lights up horribly. And so they have to constantly going like, okay, go to the person on the left. Okay, let me make it a little brighter. Oh, go to the person on the right. Let me make it a little darker. Back to the person on the left, make it a little brighter. It's like when they play football in an open stadium, the person runs from the shade into the sun and they're wearing a white jersey. And it's like somebody in the truck had to like bring that iris way down real fast. Now it says up here, start recording. Am I recording in the cloud with this? And and I like this one feature. Like I've got it pointed over here, right over here at my Phillies hat, and I'll pan to the right a little bit, and then I'll come over here and I'll say, you know what? Let's update with that with the current position, and then I get an at fix me not implemented yet. So that's indicative. Yeah, yeah, just so people understand that this is a beta. That's why it's free right now. But this is all happening on cloud servers, or not servers in the cloud, servers that sit somewhere else. So we're basically renting computer time to be able to make this processing possible. The video pass through that we're seeing, the control interface, all of that is basically what we're paying for when you pay for the subscription. Is you built this, you're going to update it, you're giving us the capabilities, the levels, you're making it easy for us. Now, one thing I want to let demonstrate for people. I'm moving the wrong mouse again. Let me come up here, and you come up the bridge, and it says down at the bottom here. Let me make me big. Is that the right one? Yep. Up here in the right corner, need to install Hive, click here. So it's not just a browser-based solution. I know I downloaded it on Mac, and this link didn't work yet, but I downloaded the PC version on my Mac as well. What's the difference between having the app and doing it in a web browser? Yeah, definitely. The service is underpowered. And don't let me like I'm not saying anything bad about the app or the browser capability by saying it doesn't run on a Surface. And I'm just saying that it's not because you're dealing with video coming in, compression, decompression, and things like that. It's not like browsing the web, and it's not like typing an email. You're going to need a machine that is built to handle video. And if you're dealing with multiple cameras, like when I remote into your studio, I'm pulling in four cameras at the same time. So there's also bandwidth requirements as well. But I do better understand the idea that if somebody is offline, they have their own portable production gear. They go into a conference. They don't want it streamed, but they still want to leverage the control capability. They can use the app and their own local area network to control a bunch of PTZs, paint them and set the presets and everything. And that's what it's for. But then if you wanted to be able to have people remote in and take care of that, then you can still do that with the app though, right? The app provides that bridge between local and remote. But and then would people on the remote end use just the web browser, or would they use their app? Okay. Okay. I will say that the CPU usage over the course of time hasn't really gone above 50, 55%, and it's gone as low as 30% just sitting there by itself. The GPU is, just slogging along. Oh, there it goes. It spiked at 100, but it's at 20%. There's that one tiny spike. It was doing something else. So by and large, this machine from several years ago, it's a 10th generation, is doing more than it's able to handle this, and it doesn't even matter what studio I jump into. It seems to be fairly consistent whether I'm dealing with one camera or three cameras. You can see the CPU takes a dip when I'm switching, and then when the cameras come back online, it's sort of like, okay, here we are back at 50%. But you can see that I'm on Wi-Fi, and my download has increased in data because now I'm pulling in more cameras. And when dealing with that, is there a way to manage the bits in terms of like I was playing around with one of these settings. I can't remember here. No, not this one. Make a model controls where I was actually able to see the bandwidth of the different cameras. Yeah. Ah, there it is. So there's 6,000 megabits coming in here, or 6 megabits and 4 megabits. And am I choosing between stream one and stream two, or what are those two different streams? Hmm. Right. Here it is. This is the one I was looking for. So I can see the ceiling camera's at 720p. The move over here is at 720p. This move camera is at 1080p. This one, this 4K at 12x, is at 720 by 408. So that's basically SD. So you can see like the bit rates as well. So I've got 5, 6, and 7 megabits coming in from each of these cameras. And if somebody was doing some bit budgeting, that would be where they would start to say, oh, okay, well, if I'm just looking at the cameras, I'm just looking, I'm not doing cloud recording or anything, any production like that. I can downgrade what I'm being sent because they're just using the cameras locally via SDI or HDMI for switching. I'm doing the remote control. I can lower that down and make it a little easier on the computer. I mean, heck, you could, I suppose, if you're doing the second stream, you could set them all to standard definition because they're all windowed on this screen over here, so you're not seeing full HD anyway. Uh-huh. I gotta say, I'm really envious of your studio. And here I am. But question came in. Let me first change the views here. Bring this up. Question came in. Do you still have to pay the monthly subscription if you just want to use it locally? And the app, I guess, has to phone home to check to make sure that it is subscribed. And so, if you are going to do a remote production, having used an app that does that already, if you're going to do a remote production the day before, launch it, let it phone home, let it phone home and make sure, yep, we're still activated. Because, I used another app called Switcher Studio, which is a locally based multi-camera live switching app, but it's with subscription. And, I hadn't fired up my iPad in several weeks, and I went out to the location, fired it up, and it says, oh, we can't contact, Switcher Studio. I said, well, you don't have to, just run. And it was like, nope, I can't contact, fire up the phone, hotspot, and all this stuff just to get it to run. Even though I wasn't streaming, I just was using it for recording. The need for these devices to phone home, you need to keep that in mind so that if you are going to be remote and away from an internet connection, you can use it locally, but make sure that it has verified that the account is still happy. Yeah. I know with Premiere, it's like 2 weeks. I think it is. Every 2 weeks it checks in because I have gone 2 weeks past the date, and then it says, I need to check. I need to check. Oh my goodness. Yeah. And for all those people who have not yet been bitten by that bug, go see my 12 tips for streaming success. And one of them is fire all your gear up earlier that week. Let it all just sit there and do, hard drive checks and updates and whatever it's going to do, and turn off auto updates. And then once you've done those things, you go into the system update and you say postpone for a week. So they don't do it that morning. That's the last thing you want to do is like be there. We're about to go live. Boom, installing updates. Nah, I think I had it happen early. We got up early. I fired up the computer, and then it was like, I have to install these updates. I was like, man, you better install them fast. Let's see. We had another question come in. Would using only SDI cameras in one studio, one PCI card, be the best option? I don't know necessarily if the connectivity makes any difference because this is about control, not about video connectivity. Pocket Video School writes in, he wants to be able to control his PTZ cameras in a remote location for some of the funeral live streams they do, but struggling with the software, getting it to work consistently. Well, again, this is still a beta, right? Right, right. And I think by and large, the ability of users, because this works out, like I said, it's beneficial in two different ways. If you have a space but can't switch the cameras. Like if I wanted to bring in a remote producer, switch between my overhead, my facing, my side view, and different things like that, I could say, "Hey, John, this is when my show is. Can I hire you to sit in on my show once a week and switch my cameras?" And I could pay a producer to come in to a Hive equipped studio and run the show for me. And alternatively, I could, as a camera operator, make myself available. I guess, hey, it almost behooves PTZ Optics to say, here's a list of Hive certified camera operators. Because I know the NewTek used to do that for TriCaster. You come in and it's like you have your basic understanding, you pass the test, and then you get listed. So it's like, hey, I need an operator on this day, and you could even have like a little job board come up too. He's making notes. He's making notes. Because, I mean, if you step back a minute, Hive is about connecting things, and that type of list would connect those who need to with those who can provide the service. And, so connecting is connecting. And I think that Hive itself really does open up a lot of doors in both directions. And I'm really excited to see what the cloud switching solution can look at becoming, because then it's sort of like, if I could sit here and have the show switched for me and see the comments come up and I could answer them and I didn't have to keep clicking on the comments and clicking over here and clicking over there. I mean, if you're looking at the side view, you can see I've got, a laptop for source and the switching and the audio mixing and this, well, this normally, this big one isn't here. But there's a lot going on in terms of both running a show and being in the show versus enabling those who are in the show to just focus on being in the show and not on all the technical aspects. It's sort of like how many plates can you keep spinning type of thing. Eventually, you have to give some of those away and let other people take on the tasks so that you could focus better on the tasks that are in front of you. I did see that. Where are those hotkeys at? Yeah, hotkeys. And you can customize them too. Well, there's a little X. Remove hot. Well, somebody could definitely just use an Elgato StreamTEK, and for those tasks that these are the tasks that I need access to without having to hunt for it anywhere, and you could just set them, assign these keystrokes to whatever button you want, different sources. So there's a good set here, and this is just called Essentials: camera controls, toolbars, sources, miscellaneous. So there's a lot going on here. And and that goes back to dividing the capabilities. One person is positioning and moving the cameras, someone else is painting the cameras. So they got paint controls in front of them, and somebody else has got positions in front of them. So I think you guys are really onto something here, and that's why I wanted to like highlight this on the show, is because you know this I think is a really good solution for people who are not huge. If you are a big station, you more likely have resources to bring people or to automate. If you are smaller, a smaller church, a company with not a big AV staff or something like that, an independent producer, a podcaster, things like that, and you've grown to the point where you need help. You can only you know manage so many things, and you need help. This provides a venue whereby you can bring in outside help when needed, and for those independent producers, you can make yourself available to provide that little bit of extra help here, and then in an hour I'm going to be over there, and then later this afternoon I'm going to be over there, and jump around between different gigs without having to travel and still be home for dinner. Well, then I guess the next step for Move is you get one of these guys with a SIM card in the back and a honking big battery on the bottom. You bring a couple of those out to the game and zip, zop, zip. Well, I do thank you for taking the time to join me on today's show. Provide the real depth that I definitely was not going to be able to provide that depth for today's show, but and the background and also the forward thinking, because you know where things are headed, whereas all those of us who are in the hive and poking around, we're looking at the now. You guys are already you're like, oh, you don't know, but this where the that's really good. So, thank you again, and I think you've provided a lot of really good information for the viewers of today's show, and I look forward to seeing where Hive goes in the future. Well, again, I hope that has been a very informative show for everyone today. I thank you all for being here. As always, if you are watching on LinkedIn, on Twitch, on Facebook, you can always find more information on the StreamTEK YouTube channel. Yep, I'll get this right eventually. And this is where we find all the videos, all the live shows. There's a whole bunch of shorts. There's interviews. If you go over to the playlists, you will find what I was talking about before. We have our producer conversations, and that's where we talk with other producers to find out how they got into it, what do they use, how did they use it, what do they find valuable. That's where there's a lot of value. We have all the gear demos, technology explanations. What is NDI? What is SDI? What is HDMI? Which one's the right one for you? So all of that is there for you to enjoy. Over here, we have the StreamTEK page on Facebook, which is where you can also catch our live shows and other informational posts. If you need to follow Streaming Media Producer, is right here at streamingmedia.com. This I write for Streaming Media Producer. You can sign up for newsletters there. And if you need to reach out to me directly, you can do that at stream the number 4.us.com. I also have a Patreon if you are so inclined. No pressure there. But I do thank you all for being here today because you, the audience, are what make live shows what they are, because it is about audience interaction. There's a real human here, not an AI generated bot just reading off of the spec sheet. This is where you get to ask those questions and get a real and genuine answer. Pocket Video School says, how about a show on switching to a fiber workflow? I don't know if I would do that, just because that is fairly specialized and not with it, for a higher tier of production. Fiber holds a lot of value for most local productions, churches, corporate, and everything that are going to be moving from place to place, setting up a small studio, things like that. Fiber doesn't add a lot of additional value. It doesn't give you anything that a long HDMI does, that a long SDI does. So switching everything to fiber per se wouldn't necessarily have a lot of benefit to what I feel are the majority of the viewers of this channel. If, however, all the viewers of this channel were people who were building stadiums and needed to pre-wire the stadium for any number of bandwidth, fiber. That's where a lot of fiber comes into play. So again, I thank you all for being here, and I will look forward to seeing you all. It was a good hour show. I will look forward to seeing you all next week here on StreamTEK. Thanks for watching.